Hi, everyone, and welcome to Signature West Podcast. I'm your host, Sam West from Palm Springs, California. As you know, I'm a seasoned real estate agent since 1991, and I bring you the podcast to bring you inspiring stories and some pearls of wisdom for the real estate world. Recently, the two questions sellers are asking, home sellers are asking, the one question is, when should I, home seller, reduce my asking price? It's a very, very important question. In fact, I'll give you a real example, real time, that happened to me 2 months ago. My seller said, I went to ChatGPT, call him Chad, and I love AI, don't get me wrong. I love AI. I use it all the time. In this case, it's not recommended. Seller asked Chat, when should I reduce my asking price? And the answer was 60 to 90 days. Now, why is that a problem? Why is that a problem? Just like I said 2 weeks ago or so about Zillow. AI has not seen your property, doesn't know what condition it's in, doesn't know your market share, what area you're in, what city you're in, what season you're in, doesn't know what transpired since you came on the market. So how could it possibly know the answer? Unless it's a very generic answer. Here's my answer. Here's my answer. And you can take it, don't take it, use it, don't use it. Here's my answer. When you come on the market and the due diligence were done, proper marketing, enough open houses, and the open houses had decent flow of people, say average 6 to 10, at least in my market share, that's fair. Number of showing you got or not showing you didn't get. If none of that in the first 30 days did not result in some kind of offering conversation, I recommend to reduce the price or at least have the conversation, 30 to 45 days max. That's my answer. Because once you go after 45 days, you're going into 2 months. And it's okay to admit that the seller or the seller's agent or both made an error in the pricing. It's okay. What happens? We all make mistakes. Problem is it happens too often, and then you have a stagnant market. So let's take it one step further. Let's say in 30 days, you've had the marketing, you've had the open houses, nobody came. The phone didn't ring. You had no showings. That's a real problem to wait more than 30 days. Because clearly something is off. Either the marketing is wrong, it happens. Definitely the price is not on target. So why wait? Why wait? And here's the kiss of death. Here's the kiss of death. When sellers say, just tell them to write any offer. Seriously? If I go tell the buyer, if you're asking $500,000, if I tell the buyer or the buyer's agent, just write an offer, and they write $400,000, are you going to consider it? Are you going to even look at me in the eye and say, let's counter? Come on, let's be honest. You're going to be pissed. You're going to be annoyed. You're going to be insulted, and rightfully so. So this whole idea when sellers say, just tell them to write an offer is just not a good idea at all in any shape or form. So are you with me so far? Does that answer the question? That's my opinion from my experience. And it's really irrelevant what market you're in, because the market will speak to you. Again, unless you're off on the price and you're off on your exposure and you don't have the right photos and your remarks aren't saying anything, then who's going to call you? That's a different conversation. That needs to be adjusted and corrected. But you've got all the box checked and in 30 days, no bites. Time to have a conversation. Okay. The second question is, which is kind of the same question really, but it's worded differently. Why are some houses stay in the market longer? I know, right? It's kind of the same question, but a little different. Why do some houses stay in the market longer? And I've said this 2 weeks ago. We can go back to the last 2 episodes and listen to it. It's pricing. It's pricing. I'm going to use a really, really good example that some of you can relate, maybe not, but it's sort of like, when you think about it, you say, what was that? Michael Jordan, basketball, in case you don't know. Michael Jordan, with all his glory and all his advisors and all the financials of his advisors and business managers and listen to his house in New Jersey. This is in 2012. 2026, it doesn't really matter. It's the same concept, it's real estate. For $29 million. $29 million. It was in the market for 12 years. 12 years. Finally sold for 9.5. From 2012, 12 years later. Now, some will say, well, Michael can afford to wait. It's true. It's true. We can take that chance and do it. But it's really irrelevant whether he's asking 29 million or he's asking $1 million or 500,000 and waited 2 years versus waited 12 years. Could you imagine if he priced it correctly in the first year and sold it properly? How much money would he have saved between 2012 and 12 years later? But again, Michael Jordan may be in a position where he can wait and afford doing this. Talking about the average, home seller that is maybe trying to sell for gazillion reasons. Hopefully the reason is to move on. You're just not putting the market on the market to test the market. That's not a seller. That's not a seller. But if you're really selling the home and have a really compelling reason to sell, this scenario doesn't serve you or anybody. So if your realtor is just listening to you and taking your order and filling it in and just making you happy, at the end, it's not a happy ending in the end to anyone. Money was wasted on marketing, on time, energy, sellers still waiting, seller didn't get their money, and it becomes stagnant, and that's the kiss of death. There's a skeleton in the room somewhere, and every buyer is not going to touch it. Because sooner or later, the markets will give you what it will give you. So it's back to pricing. Which goes back to the first question earlier. When should a seller reduce the price? Again, they're very similar questions, but a little different, but they both kind of embody the same answer and the same principle, really. Again, you can price it correctly in the beginning. We can test that price, and after a month, revisit it but don't price it and test it and just wait for, I don't know, the universe to be a sign after sign after sign. And 12 years later, as in Michael Jordan's case, or maybe in your case, you waited 12 months. And I see it all the time, 200 days on the market. It's like, what are we waiting for? What are we waiting for? You tell me, what are we waiting for? It's really simple. The market is not responding to your price point. The market is not responding to your price point. You can blame it's a buyer's market. You can blame the interest rates. You can blame the neighbors down the street. You can blame, at the end of the day, the market is not responding to your price point. So I hope I answered the two questions, and I hope you found this helpful. And we're going to meet again in 2 weeks. All right. Have a great weekend, everybody, and we will chat to you very soon. If you like what you heard, please subscribe. It's free. This information is for you to use however you see fit. So help me to help you, to help everybody else out there, get it out there. Enjoy your day.